Hello, and welcome to episode 64 of That Does Not Belong to Me. I just had to look to see when the last time I recorded was, and it's been a solid 4 months, which feels wild. And every time I send a podcast to my editor, Hannah, I'm like, I'm back on track. It's gonna happen. Back to regular scheduled programming. I used to post every 2 weeks. I used to create an episode and share it with her help, and it's just not been the case. And you know what? That's totally fine. And that's part of what I'm here to talk about today. And I just want to start by saying that if there's something that you've been wanting to do, maybe something you used to do that you used to love doing and then took a break from for whatever reason, life got in the way and you've been wanting to do it again, and you keep putting it off, and the longer you put it off, the harder it is to get back into it. You are not alone. This is exactly what this has felt like. It's been the thing that's been on my list that has been shuffled from day to day, from week to week for weeks now. Not for the total 4 months, because there were definitely some intentional pauses from this podcast, but I've been wanting to jump back in. And there's just something that either hasn't allowed me to create the time. That's my not an excuse, it's my own personal decision of priorities, but um or there's just been a sticky resistance around actually doing it. And I think about it a lot. And I love this podcast. I love talking. I love sharing. I love teaching. I love getting vulnerable, which is what this is for too. So here I am, just like ripping the band-aid off and trying to jump back in. And this is such a good practice for me as well, because lately I've been doing a challenge on Instagram called it's my personal That Does Not Belong to Me challenge, which I'll talk more about. That Does Not Belong to Me in the book. And obviously that's the name of this podcast. But it's been an interesting practice of recording myself speaking. And I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday, but about eliminating filler words. And I try really hard to do that in yoga. And now I teach Pilates on the machine. And it's hard, especially when you're newer at something, when you're still trying to gain your confidence in the words that you can use and the language that you want to use. There can be a lot of, wish-washy, and that's going to happen to me, of course, as I share today. But this is a one-shot deal. I never stop. I mean, I stop if someone interrupts me, but otherwise it's just recorded full on, and and it does a great job of editing any little blunders. So here we are. I'm back at it, and I'm super happy to be back at it at this moment. It's November 4th that I'm recording, 2025. Summer was a wild ride. So I just want to do a little flashback since I haven't been here. This is obviously a solo episode. I'm just going to fill you in a little bit and give you a few little, hopefully, bits of inspiration along the way. So the marina was wild this summer. For those who don't know, I run my family's business, which is a marina and restaurant and bar right on the lake in here in Lac Brome and Brome Lake in the eastern townships of Quebec. And it rained, I think, all of like 8 days this summer, maybe nine. And so that means when it's not raining, we're open every day. And they're just, obviously it was busy because people want to be out having drinks and food by the water, which is so great. I'm so grateful that they want to do that and go to our restaurant. Also, tensions were high in general with my team, with customers. There was less patience. Overall, I'm not blaming anybody, myself included, even. So it made it for more draining. It made it for a more draining experience this summer, which is, again, kind of an obvious way to state it, that when you're really busy doing something, when you're working really hard, you're using a lot of your energy to make it happen. And it just felt next level this summer. I think there were other layers involved. I've never used the word burnout for myself before, and not because I think it's a bad word or I'm shameful of it. I know there's a lot around that. It's a complicated thing, and I'm not sure exactly if that's what it was. I didn't go see somebody, which I probably should have. I'm still on the list to be seen by someone through the Cedar Cancer Center, but that's something I could reach out for sure. But I think I was burnt out by the end of the summer. And one of the things that I can say is a factor of that, or was an outcome of that, was I was crying a lot. And I have to say that I thought at a certain point that this was me. That's the new normal. I'm just a sensitive soul who is fragile, and that is okay. And then fast forward to not quite September, but October. And I was able to reflect, to look back and say, that was not normal. That was not me. That is not okay. Sure, it was a version of me. That's totally fine, but it's not how I want to live. And I've definitely had moments like this in different ways throughout this experience of life, but also over the last, 3 and some years now of being diagnosed with lymphoma too. I've had so many emotional journeys and different phases of that. So just as we do in our life, we go through phases. We call it seasons of life, right? Where some are going to be moving with more ease. Maybe there's more spaciousness, and then others you're slammed with, maybe unexpected event after unexpected event. And there's lots of exciting things coming up, or there's challenges, or whatever it may be. So in those moments, that's when we have to be extra careful to not overstack our plate. So at the end of the summer, I realized I don't want this for myself. This is not normal, or it's not enjoyable. It's not fun for me. And what I had someone ask me, and I've had this question asked before, but like they asked, do you look forward to the Marina season? And it's such a complicated thing. And I've talked about it on this podcast before, but a big part of me doesn't. And does that mean I want to get rid of it? I remember a recent podcast, maybe a few episodes back, talking about that, where I used to say, like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And it's just, that's so not true. And, we might have excuses of why we cling on to something, like an unhealthy relationship where you're like, yeah, but they do all these good things for me, And then meanwhile, there's all these things that you're just putting up with and not being treated the way you deserve to be treated. So there could be that side I have to be careful of. But I'm just, every year get to decide, and it would be a huge decision if I decided not to be involved in the marina anymore. Um, but I get to decide. And so I still want to be in it. I just like this summer, something has to give. That's what I've realized is I don't want to say I was like rock bottom, but I do feel like it was a sort of spiritual burnout where now I get to rise from the ashes and rebuild it in a way that feels good. Like I've done so many other times in so many other elements of my life and my business and businesses. And so next summer, I'm going to have support. I already have someone in mind who I'm super excited to work alongside. I want to have a sidekick, they can help me out and take on different tasks for me. Does that mean maybe I'll make less money? Yeah, yeah, because we'll have to pay that person, and that's great. And I don't care because I just want to enjoy my life. And yes, I want to work hard. And yes, I think making money is important. But what's more important is my health, and that includes my mental health. So, of course, that includes it. So, all that to say is stay tuned because next summer things are going to change and it won't be in one swift shot. Next summer will be a big learning curve. We'll see if it works in a partnership that way. And I also have other people that are willing to come and support in different ways. So, I just need to reassess and move into next summer with definitely more alignment towards myself because that was not me. That was not how I want to live life. And it's been happening in the past where I finish every summer burnt out, a version of it. Not, I wouldn't call it burnout. This one was different, but a version of that where I'm like so over it. And I've had the goal for a while now of not feeling that way. And not necessarily feeling like, let's keep going. I could do this forever. It doesn't need to be that because I love this seasonal life that I've managed to create. But I really think there could be a different way where I don't need a full month of September, if not more, to just catch my breath, which is really what it felt like because I thought September was going to be the month of nourishing myself. And I don't even remember September. I don't know what happened. I'm sure I had moments of it. Obviously, I was teaching, I'll talk more about that, but teaching yoga, teaching reformer Pilates now, which I'm loving. I was replacing teachers, running that business with Val, which we do so seamlessly, but there's still a lot of behind the scenes, especially in the summer months when everyone's going on vacation. And I'm gonna have to get Val on the podcast again because we've grown our business and it'd be fun to chat with her again on here. But so the other thing that I feel like created a bit of a challenge for me in the summer, which I'm realizing is maybe like underneath that obvious reason for burnout, which is the marina was so busy and it was really stressful running a team of 25 people and serving all those people in, the best way I could, is the looming health concerns that are basically always mentally behind the scenes. So just to give a short recap of where I'm at, I was diagnosed in on July 26, 2022 with follicular lymphoma. It's a chronic, slow-growing cancer. At the time, wasn't going to get treatment because there wasn't anything to be terribly alarmed by other than these big lumps on my neck and face and jaw. It was pretty alarming, not gonna lie. But we watched and waited. And then once it became a little too painful, radiation. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just to give a recap of where we're at now. After I did have 6 rounds of, it's called bendamustine rituximab, which is immunotherapy and chemotherapy, a mix of it, a nice little cocktail mélange. It was over the course of 6 months, every 4 weeks. I was going to Montreal to the Cedar Cancer Center, where I was very well taken care of. And after that, I still had a mass in my pelvis that did not go away, which was concerning. And so my oncologist, and then I spoke to the radiation oncologist, and they suggested both radiation in my pelvis. So I did 5 days of that, which was super brutal, which I wasn't warned of. It made me that I didn't have my period anymore. It made sex super painful. Wasn't expecting that. So this is just a little recap for those who have listened. I know you know this, maybe, if you recall, but and then I also started immunotherapy. So this is called maintenance, where every 3 months I go in for just a little dose of immunotherapy. And I was going to potentially do immunotherapy if my scan came back clear. This would have been a way to prolong my state of remission, potentially. And the thing is, if my scan came back clear, I had mentally planned, because this could have been an option too, to not do this 2 years of maintenance. And I don't know, obviously I didn't live that version of what I had hoped for because I was hoping to then, be in a state where I felt good in my body. The scan showed I was clear. I could have maybe proceeded with IVF. But alas, the mass was there. So we thought, the radiation, the maintenance, hopefully that'll do the trick. So that's been a while now, not quite 2 years. My last round of maintenance is December 4th, as that's what it's scheduled for. I had a round in September, early September, and I'd asked my oncologist if I could get my PET scan after that round instead of waiting till December, instead of waiting potentially till the new year to get a scan to know, did this all work? And she said, no problem. Sure enough, that was early September. It's now November 4th, and I still have not got a call to get that scan. So knock on wood, it comes any day now, and I get a clear scan. Then the other component going on is the IVF part. So I did get seen by a fertility doctor, a reproduction doctor, and he put me in to get tests. So I had a blood test, a urine test. I wasn't prepared for the urine test actually, and I hadn't done that in a while. It's not easy. Anyways, I was like, so many accidents could happen here. I managed. We're good. Got a blood test, a urine test, an ultrasound, vaginal ultrasound. And now next week, actually, Duncan goes in to get his sperm checked, and we go in for our results next week, midweek. And I was really hoping to have the PET scan results by then so I could know that if the PET scan was clear and then maybe all of our fertility stuff is clear, we'd know what we're going ahead with. So, alas, probably won't be the case. So one thing at a time, right? That's the sort of thing where I love the idea of manifestation, putting it out there. That call will come, that scan will come, those results will come. They'll come in the way I want them to come in, of course. And I will keep putting that out there. And I'm not going to be, I mean, of course, there can be disappointment. Sorry. I'm not going to say I'm not going to be disappointed, but I'm not going to harp on it. Like, there's at a certain point, they're going to call me when they call me. What can I do? So if I just spend my time like stewing and brewing and being frustrated about it, it's really not a great use of my energy, which is very precious. So that was part of why I feel I was fragile and sensitive. Like, if this was me talking about this 2 months ago, I'd be crying right now, which is totally fine. And there's still like part of me that wants to cry, but I'm okay. I'm actually fine talking about it. I don't need to force out tears, you know? I love crying actually, but sometimes it's exhausting when it's happening all the time. So just check in with yourself, obviously there's various people going through various things. If there's obviously grief is one thing, and that's one where let's not rush the crying and the tears and the moving forward. And I'm not an expert on grief, but I do know, allowing that to happen is a good thing. Um, so that was pretty big part of, I think, why I was so like I said, fragile, and I feel like it's always there. And as much as I'm able to really live my life, I really am. I feel good. Every now and then I get this headache at the back of my base of my skull that makes me nervous because it's always in the same spot. But I'm waiting for that scan so I can find out, that it's okay, actually. My oncologist, she was not trying to diminish what I was telling her, but she was like, I like to tell my clients or my patients that that you used to get headaches before the cancer too. And so I think that's true. And also, I didn't used to get a headache like this in the exact same spot consistently many times a week. So we also have to listen to ourselves and trust ourselves and advocate for ourselves. So I was thinking about how next week when when I'm at the hospital, I will go and potentially try to go to my oncologist's desk, see what I can if I can talk to someone and see about that scan and make sure I didn't fall through the cracks. So as much as, it's not in my hands, I think there are certain parts where I could actually be a little more proactive. So I will work on that. So that's the health update. Feeling good, feeling back to mostly myself, which is really, really nice. And now we're November, and now I'm moving into what I'm calling Nourish November. And it's the perfect timing. It's honestly so perfect because, again, like I said, September, October just kind of went in the blink of an eye. October is my birthday. It's Halloween. It's always like very full in those ways. Super fun. I loved turning 41. I loved making my friends dress up yet again. It's going to continue probably forever. Highly recommend the theme of getting your friends to dress up for a party, for a different party than what they were invited to. So they were invited to a birthday party and they have to dress for the wrong party. So we had everything from a swingers party to a bachelorette party to a slumber party, to a accounting happy hour. That was a good one. Anyways, if you want to see my Instagram reel, it's there and it's really entertaining. So, highly encourage that theme and making your friends dress up. So now November is the month where I am taking solid care of myself. I know it's just a few days in, so I know we can get ourselves all excited and be like, I'm having delicious breakfast and I'm, taking the time to eat properly, to cook well, to move my body, all of those things, of course. But I really feel strongly about this. So I have a feeling I will be able to carry it through the month and then hopefully beyond in a version of this, right? I really don't love doing extremes. I rather just try to create a habit or a pattern in a certain way that is actually going to energize me rather than steal my energy. So far, what I'm doing is, so the Instagram part is actually not the Nourish November part. It's the challenge that I've labeled my personal that does not belong to me challenge. And this is part of the nourishment. So for those who don't know, this podcast was named after a statement that I started saying once I learned about human design. Once I learned that we have these energy centers in our body, and some are open. Like for me, my head and my mind center are open. That means other people's thoughts, beliefs can come in there. And obviously, you don't need to know your energy centers to even know that that's probably going to happen to you. And some people have a closed mind where they're more clear on what their beliefs are. They really stand confident in what they believe to be true. That's great. Neither are bad. It's just good to know. And then we get strategies. So once I realize, like, oh, wait, I don't actually think that to be true, or I get a fear. I'm scared of something. Wait a minute. This is a fear I've had since I was young because my mom was scared of this. Or this is just something I've been taught. Is this actually something that scares me? Let me test it out. And it's okay to be scared sometimes too, right? And then emotions are another huge one, right? So we have the solar plexus that carries emotions like a sponge. So if you're open in that center, which half of the population is, then you can take in other people's sadness, other people's grief. And that we have to be so careful of. I was talking recently on a video on Instagram about that, and I've had a lot of conversations about grief with friends. And as much as people are like, I'm so sorry, it's so heavy, and it's like, I feel sad. I'm allowed to feel sad in my heart for you. I'm heartbroken for you, actually, but I don't feel heavy. This doesn't make me feel heavy. And I'm proud of myself when I had that realization because I've been working on this. And as much as I always talk about being a work in progress, and I have not got this completely figured out, that's for sure. Um, but that part made me really, really proud. And it showed that, like, oh yeah, this work works. And like sticking to it, and just even like the amount of people I know that tell me like that does not belong to me. I just said that time I was in this thing, and then I reminded myself that does not belong to me. I'm like, yes, it can be as simple as that. And that's such a huge goal of mine in any of the teachings I do is like, ideally you don't need the handbook. Ideally, you don't need that journal where you took the notes from that program that you took or that workshop or class. It's something that is going to be so needed in your life experience that you'll just remember, oh, yeah, that's the work. That's so magical when that happens. I'm so proud of you when that happens. So, yeah, that's why I feel like I can have these conversations about people losing loved ones. And I can be empathetic, I'm compassionate, but I don't carry it with me. Like when my friend lost her son, the experience is the most awful thing I could think of that I could imagine. And I'm not a parent, so I can't even put myself in her shoes necessarily, but I can feel that. And I remember that being a part of the heaviness too of, now I'm saying I don't feel heavy, but I do feel that that was something that I was sad for. And I'm just trying to differentiate, that difference feeling between being there for someone, obviously being sad about something, but not letting it like live inside of you forever. And a big reason for that is that so that you can be there for them, right? It's not saying like, that does not belong to me. I don't want to talk about it. It's saying that does not belong to me, but I can be there for you. But it's not mine to carry, and you'll carry it for as long as you need to carry it, maybe forever. And that's okay too. And then when it feels time to give yourself space from certain things, I know I've heard many, many ways of explaining grief. And one of my friends explained it like a wool sweater, where sometimes you need it and it keeps you warm and it makes you feel cozy. The grief itself is like the wool sweater. And then sometimes it's a super hot day and you still are wearing this wool sweater and it's prickly and it's so uncomfortable that it doesn't feel good. So I thought that was such an interesting explanation of it. I mean, I do think we need to be talking more about death, this thing that is so inevitable in each of our lives. And at the same time, I'll just share that I haven't actually lost someone that is super close to me. So I am very privileged and very lucky. I'm very fortunate. I do not take that for granted, but it's easy for me to talk about it in this way, I think, because I haven't also experienced it. So TBD, it's going to happen at some point. I'll be here talking about it probably. But for now, I support those around me I love, and I try not to live with the weight of their emotions inside of me. Okay, that's what I'm working on. So the that does not belong to me challenge. I'm going on Instagram every day creating a little video. I haven't created today's video yet, but I have an idea of what I'm going to do. And it's been various things. Like yesterday, what I said did not belong to me was dessert. And it's a bit of a stretch, but my what I'm thinking about is, and I was at dinner at friend's house the night before, and I was so satisfied from dinner. I knew the dessert was coming out. It was an apple pie. Do I like an apple pie? Sure. Actually, yes. Do I love it? Not necessarily. Was I hungry? No. And I was like, wow, it really gets to be as simple as that, right? We literally just have to check in with ourselves and then we get to know, like, oh, I don't need that. I don't actually want that. And I realized the reason I would have said yes to it was to be polite. And is it rude to say no? Maybe in certain cultures, yes, but I think here it's totally fine. I was full. Thank you so much. And there was a couple other people said, no, thank you, I'm good. And then a few others enjoyed it. That's all. That's all. Simple as that. So that was a good one for me. It's so simple, but I was like, wait, no, I don't need to eat that. I save room for savory stuff. If you take a bag of chips away from me, I'll be so mad at you. The pie, I don't mind so much. Go for it, take it. And then a few other ones. One of them was about, I'll just share this too. And then, I mean, you can go on Instagram hopefully and follow along. And if you want to share some of yours, I would love to hear what doesn't belong to you. One of them was around going to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Light the Night event. And it was such a beautiful experience. I'd previously been involved in their Visionary of the Year campaign. I will forever be involved in the LLSC because they've helped me so much, and I also believe in their mission so much. I believe that so much of their money that they make, that they fundraise, goes towards research to help blood cancers, all the blood cancers, to help with finding a cure, to help make treatment easier and smoother, for advocacy, for awareness, and for helping families that are going through it for their loved ones. So I just believe in them so much. So this was my first time experiencing Light the Night. It was set in the Old Port in Montreal. It was such a family-friendly event. I will be inviting you all next year. It's right around my birthday, so around October 23rd, usually the Saturday. And it's such a good time. You create a team, you raise money. We raised over 10,000. We raised $12,000 as a team of four people, and it felt fun and easy. And there were so many. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you were one of the people probably that donated. If you didn't, don't worry. There'll be next time. And also, I know everyone has plenty to donate too. So find your cause. And even if it's just helping out, that's always so nice. Um, but at that event, so we had red lantern holders that were supporting those with a blood cancer, white lantern holders like myself that are living with a blood cancer or going through treatment, and gold lantern holders who were in support of those lost to blood cancer. And so we all had our lanterns, we were all sitting at tables, and then the speeches began, this sort of ceremony, and there was some people talking on the stage, and then there was some video footage of the different lantern holders, let's say. So the white lantern holders, they showed a few people who are living with blood cancer and what it's like to live with that experience and the help that the LSC has had for them and or given them. And then the gold lantern holders, so people talking about those they've lost to blood cancer. And there was the honored hero. I forget if it was called the honored, there might have been another term for it, but it was this beautiful girl who got diagnosed, I believe, when she was 14 and passed away, I think, before she was 20. So her mother was speaking, and then there were other videos on the screen that were talking about people lost to blood cancer. I got really emotional, and so did a few people, my best friend at my table also. It was really hard not to picture my own, this might make me emotional actually, but to not picture my own picture up on that screen, which obviously that's not a nice thing to think about. Of course, that's not how I hope it's going to go or that it will go. Again, back to manifestation and all the positive things. But of course, I'm a human being that is going to go to these places sometimes. So you think if it happened to them, it could happen to me. It could. It could. Will it? Probably not. Maybe not. Hopefully not. But it could. So it's really hard not to think about the fact that I could be on that screen and my loved ones could be watching that or talking about me? And I know that's not how it's going to go. I know, but it was very emotional. All that to say, obviously, it's bringing up emotions now. And so when I started my challenge, it was a few days after that. And the thing that I said was other people's cancer journey does not belong to me. And that does not mean I didn't love being there and hearing their stories, even the sad ones. I actually am so grateful to hear everyone's experience with this. Obviously, we don't want these sad ones anymore, but that's why we're there. That's why we were with the LLSC working towards raising all this money. So it just felt so right to be there. But it was a big realization that I have to be careful when I listen to other people's stories or the story of someone who has lost someone. That is not mine. And every single cancer journey is different, just like every single life experience is different, or every single other health experience that someone has is different, even if you have the exact same diagnosis. So that's something that is good for me. And if it's helpful for you to also say, it's helpful to hear other people, but sometimes it can be heavy. If ever you're in a Facebook group, I'm in a follicular lymphoma Facebook group, I have to be careful. There's a lot of uplifting stuff and there's a lot of information there that's helpful. And then sometimes it's heavy and yes, that does not belong to me, right? So sometimes you just need to maybe not dive too deep into it also. All right, so stay tuned for more of my That Does Not Belong to Me challenge. I also have my book, right? My book coming up. So I want to share a bit more about my book experience. And I also okay, just to tell you, I don't know when it's going to be out. I wrote my editor this morning to be like, hey, how's that formatting coming? I'm still waiting for this ISBN number, it's called. So that's through the government. I have to wait 20 business days. So we're nearing by the end of this week, I should have it, unless there was something wrong with it, how I submitted it. Anyways, so It's in those final stages, which I'm so excited. And the goal is to have it in people's hands by Christmas. That would be so cool. So things are trucking along. I have the cover done by my friend Ashley. It's a beautiful cover. It's so perfect. I can't wait for you to see it all. Some of you have already seen it if you're on my mailing list. I can't wait for you to have the book in your hands. This book, I mean, I've talked about it already. I know it's going to be helpful for some, hopefully many. I know there's going to be parts of it that either maybe don't super make sense, maybe a little repetitive. I'm not trying to diminish myself. I just know that this was I want to say a first draft, even though obviously there were many, many drafts, but this was my first effort at writing a book, right? And so when people have asked me, like, how are you feeling? I was in a phase near the end of writing it where I was like, I wanted to scrap it. I didn't want anyone to read it. And now, since it's done mostly, I'm so proud of myself. I really am. I'm proud of myself for having done it. And like, this is something I tell other people to do is like, pat yourself on the back when you've done that thing that was really hard, but that was a goal of yours that you really wanted. It doesn't need to be something so like huge. It can be small, but like, congratulate yourself. Be in that amazement towards yourself. I think it's super important. It's not cocky. It's not conceited. This is how we build our self-trust. This is how we build our self-confidence. Um, and so I'm really proud of myself. And that's why I can't wait for you to read it. And what you do with it is totally up to you. That's not mine. So I really, really, anyways, it's going to be a fun experience when I do the book launch. Stay tuned for that. I did have an involvement in the literary festival, I was so grateful for. I didn't have my book in hand. I was the only of the six authors who didn't actually have the book present, but I got to speak about the book and I was super happy about that. I had bookmarks made by Ashley. Those were so great. So I could pass those out to people. Actually, I just found the stack of them, so they're around if you want one. Um, but yeah, I can't wait for you to have that book in your hands, and I'll be sharing definitely more again about the book writing process. And so, what I want to mention is along with Nourish November, along with this kind of summer burnout, is the fact that I have put a pin in my coaching business. So I didn't coach all summer. I didn't lead any programs, and I wasn't really sure what would happen in the fall, and I still don't feel ready to do that. I don't feel ready. I had two people reach out to me in 1 week, almost like a test to see if I could coach them. One was a past client, one was one who was referred to me, referred by someone to me, and I sat with it. I was like, is this a test? Do I just say yes because I feel like I should or could or whatever? And then it was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because that'll be the test, right? Is I just dip my toe back into coaching. Does this feel good? They both felt aligned. They both felt like people I could help. Um, and it's so funny because I responded to both. The one that was referred to me didn't respond back after I replied. And the other one, life situation changed. So she was like, actually, never mind. I'm like, great, great. So maybe I didn't want to do it anyway. But my focus over Nourish November and who knows how long beyond is hopefully back into this podcast. I really would love to continue with it, bring more guests on, have great conversations. Love to bring in a little more human design. I'm like dipping my toe back into listening to podcasts on it, just getting little refreshers. I mean, the book has such a like it weaves human design throughout the whole thing. So it really is something that I love. I just need to figure out the way that I want to talk about it, which it does in the book, but now maybe on the podcast a little more too. But also obviously the studio, the well, and Valerie and I have some fun things potentially going on behind the scenes. So if you're living locally, stay tuned. If you haven't experienced the well yet, please come and join us. I took my reformer teacher training last spring, so that also added to my workload, of course. I was teaching generally three, but sometimes five, six classes on reformer a week, plus my 3 or 4 yoga classes a week. So it's quite a lot, but I love it. I didn't think I would love it as much as I do. And I just feel so strong when I'm practicing on the machine. And I love teaching others how to do it and people of all ages. And that's what is like my favorite thing, especially if people are new to it. I love guiding them to experience it for the first time. I teach an intro to reformer the first Monday every month, but you don't need that class to join a class. All of our classes are open to everyone. But if you haven't tried it, give it a try. It's a bit of a pricey commitment because it is, I mean, for us, it's about $40 a class. That's taxes included. Um, and it might be like a different pricing around that price point elsewhere. So it's a nice mix. So if you want to do that once a week, plus some yoga or floor Pilates or other movement or walking or whatever it is, in any case, just to like zoom out a little, find the thing that you love doing. I pulled out my little trampoline recently. That's part of my Nourish November. I'm going to hop on it after for like 5 minutes. I just want to try to do that every day or every other day. Just, in those little pockets of time where I'm just like waiting to leave or waiting for someone to arrive, I just hop on that trampoline, hop around for 5 minutes. Um, Get the lymphatic system moving. Yes. So I had a student in class today and she was talking about taking classes and she's like, I really don't like taking classes. She's like, I like sports, I like activities, I like games, playing games, like sport games. And she's like, but I know this is good for me. And I was like, try your best to find those things that you enjoy as much as possible. It's good. It's good motivation to know something's good for you. That's good motivation for some too. But ideally, there's like some version of pleasure there, right? So that's why I really try to incorporate fun in most of my classes I teach as much as possible, even if it's like a little silly joke here and there that, sometimes people laugh to and sometimes people don't. So, um, that's pretty much my recap for today. That's pretty much what I wanted to say, and share. I'm grateful to be here. I always am. And I always say that with like a lot of deep meaning to that because I could not be here. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. And so I'm really grateful to be here. If you've listened to this point, I'm so grateful that you're here. If you want to stay in touch, go to my website, jamiemore.com, JAIMEMOAR.com. I'll put it in the show notes. And you can always sign up for my mailing list. My website needs to be updated slightly, perhaps, because I'm not doing all those offerings anymore. But sign to my mailing list because I send out nice emails now and then. Sometimes it's for people locally, but I always try to include other stuff, whether it be just, content that I'm enjoying lately or just even some little, hopefully, bit of inspiration or something. So it's not just for people who live nearby. And then on Instagram or Facebook, I love connecting on social media. So I'd love to see you over there. It's at Jamie Jessica on Instagram. And don't hesitate if you want to reach out with any questions, any even suggestions of people that I could interview or conversations you'd want to have or want me to have, anything that you want to hear about. Okay, thank you all so much for being here. I'll see you soon. Bye.